Hi there and welcome to Coffee with Craig. And today I'm going to be making some predictions about 2023. This is the first of a number of videos that I'll be doing about this. So do please follow this channel and you'll be able to see the updates every time I go live. Well, hi everyone, and thanks for joining me live, because a number of you have already joined me live here. I hope you can all hear me. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me properly. You may find we've got some rain coming at the moment and thunder and lightning of all things. So this will really fit in with the Prophet of Doom theme sometimes I get labelled with. So I'm going to be talking today about some of my predictions for 2023, and I'll take your questions. I'll take your questions at the end when we finish this first session. Now, this is part one because I'm going to do multiple parts for these. So I obviously can't cover everything. And I'm going to cover just some of the main feelings I have about what's coming up in 2023 today. And in particular, at the end, I'd like to take all your questions on lots and lots of things, but actually not answer them, because I want to gather a number of questions and we can approach those in future ones when we do this. So so also if you come out after I've gone live, do put comments in with the questions you'd like me to address about all the different things, because your people come here, obviously you all come from all over the place, all over the world, so we can't address everything all at once. But I want to tell you my first thoughts about what I feel we've got coming up in 2023. And it's been quite difficult, this one, really, because not only have we got such a vast amount of things happening, with already many things already happening in the news at the moment, but also I have to get my sense about where it's going, because you mustn't get your mind distracted when you do this type of work. So I'm hoping that I'm a clear channel for this. And so the first thoughts that I have about 2023, and I've got notes up around me here as I'm talking to you, but the first thoughts I had is the most important thing is going to be food shortages. In fact, I feel we're going to get a lot of crop failures in 2023. Already there's been signs of this, to be honest. We've got the problems in Ukraine, and there has been quite bad weather events around already. But I get the feeling that these weather events are going to get worse, which is likely with global warming. But I feel that 2023 is going to be a particularly bad year for all things to do with crops, and also fish stocks as well, and maybe also, although we've got avian flu at the moment happening here in the UK as I talk, I feel we're going to get some form of cattle illness that's also going to add to these problems. Now, this may not seem as bad as some of the wars we've been seeing, but I feel this is a really major problem because it creates other problems in its wake, and in particular food shortages. And this, I feel, is going to bring about in 2023, sadly, famine in the third world, but also great hardship everywhere. And I think it's important, I feel, for the year ahead that we all think a bit carefully about keeping some food stocks, because when you think about it, when COVID hit, suddenly the shops emptied, and I think it would be wise to have some food put aside for our families and friends and neighbors to share around, just in case, because I feel food things are going to be very, very significant, not just for the third world, but for everybody everywhere, and in particularly China as well, because I feel there's going to be big food shortages in China. China has money, and China will buy up resources around the world, which will put more and more pressure on everybody else. It's just like what happened with oil, except this time it's going to happen with the food. So I feel also we have a difficult, very hard year ahead in terms of the economy for all countries. Now, we've already got the signs of recession, but I feel that we're going to see bigger and bigger recessions. And so I predict that this is going to be an extremely difficult year for anything to do with all areas of money, including house prices falling through the floor. Now, a lot of these things I predicted back in 2022, and they've happened and are happening as I speak. But I just feel that what I was seeing at the beginning of 2022 also kind of holds good into 2023, many of the things I've been saying, because I just feel that the world recession is going to get even worse than I predicted going back at those few years ago. Now, so they're going to see more and more world conflicts. So I'm giving you kind of a general overtone of the year, first of all. So I feel we're going to see more and more world conflicts. It's not going to settle down. It's going to get worse, I feel. And the Ukraine conflict will continue. And I feel that Ukraine conflict is going to be a kind of a grinding conflict that goes on and on. I think Putin will eventually lose power. And I've said this right at the beginning. I mean, I said this in 2020, right when the Ukrainian crisis was happening, right at the very beginning, which would have been about this time last year. I said that I felt that Putin would be ill, mentally ill. I felt if he had something, I felt he had like a tumor or something like that. And I feel that it may work itself out in 2023, and we may see the death of Putin. That may bring an end to the conflict, but I don't think it will. I feel the conflict would still grind on, and I feel there's more ahead. Sometimes when I do these things, I see sort of a shadow. And I felt a sort of a shadow coming over the kind of like the month of December. Now, I don't know if I'm talking about this coming December, because I'm making these predictions I always make my predictions in October. I've just missed it. We're just in the beginning of November now, in the 1st of November. But I had a bad feeling for December, and as if something really bad happens in the month of December. Now, unfortunately, I don't know if it's this December or December 2023, but I had a feeling of something quite, and I got a sense of a cloud again. So I often get these feelings of foreboding with this. It makes me wonder if Russia could use a dirty sort of bomb, not a nuclear bomb like we know it, but some form of spreading of nuclear material, or doing something with maybe one of the nuclear power stations and faking up perhaps a nuclear release. As if something, I felt as if there was and blaming Ukrainians for it. Now, I know we're seeing this at the moment with this sort of saber rattling, but I get the sense that Putin might actually do it. And I'm seeing it soon. And I felt December, and I think it's December this year, but I've kind of put my mind for 2023. So if not this year, maybe next. So I feel we've got to be very careful of that. And I feel that I'm going to give a lot more detailed predictions about these things later, but I want to just today give you some of my overfeel of what I feel for the year ahead. I'm sorry it's not all good news, guys, but this is just how I'm feeling at the moment. I'll tell you a little bit more about what I feel about the further future too in a moment, actually. Now, I said last year that there would be a war with Taiwan, and I said it would happen around this time, didn't I? I said it would happen around November at the time of the primaries in America. So let's see if I'm right with that, if we do see that starting to happen right now. But I do certainly feel that I think there will be conflicts over Taiwan, not just saber rattling as we've been getting at the moment. In fact, I feel that there's going to be a naval conflict around Taiwan, and that's how it will start. It will be a naval rather than a full-out invasion. But I feel it will be naval exchanges. And I feel this may trigger, in fact, I feel this will trigger eventually a trade embargo with China. I feel that the countries of the world are going to start to say, look, we're going to have to stop this, and we're putting a trade embargo, and there may be some blockades to stop shipping going into China. That will be the way they would do it, with naval blockades. So I'm seeing all these naval things around Taiwan for 2023. Now, sadly, I also feel this is a difficult year for these conflicts, because as the money's running out, I feel the tensions rise. And I also feel that there's something going to happen in the Middle East as well. Now, again, I got a sort of a cloud feeling about this. I kind of, when I'm tuning into these things, I sort of follow. It's not very nice to do, actually. I kind of follow this sense of foreboding. If I can find a sense of foreboding, I try to follow it and see where it takes me. And I felt that the Middle East, there's going to be, I know we've got kind of, and I predicted this, didn't I? I said there'd be some conflicts in Iran, and that Iran may see a revolution, which we're kind of seeing starting there. But what I saw is that Israel hits the Iranian nuclear site. I feel as if there's going to be a sudden, an unexpected thing happen in the Middle East. And the best I can understand it is that that sudden, unexpected thing is going to be an air attack on Iranian nuclear facilities that can generate and make nuclear bombs. So I feel they're going to take it into their own hands, and I feel we're going to get a strike from Israel. This is going to be one of the significant things in 2023. In one of the other issues we already have, of course, is illegal immigration in Europe and in the USA as well. And I feel this is going to escalate even further than we've seen it before. It's going to be a massive wave as populations, particularly from Africa, move north as the food runs out. So I'm seeing that a huge swarm of people knocking the doors of Europe and America, and going into unprecedented levels. And I will cover that in more details later on, and what I see as some of the things that are going to happen around that, and the possible solutions that I feel are going to be put forward for that. But I'm going to save that for future videos. These are just an overview that I'm giving today of some of the main points that I feel are going to be important. Now, I also had a sense of some major kind of cosmic event in the solar system. Now, it was interestingly, I wrote this down yesterday, that I was getting this feeling. I actually spotted today in the news, it said about a large meteorite that heads towards the Earth that won't actually ever get near us for thousands of years. So it's not that, I don't think, unless my mind was seeing that when I was doing the tuning in, and it was something that was right on our doorstep. But no, I had a feeling of something like a huge solar flare. And I feel this would be significant, whether that reaches the Earth or whether it affects all of our technology or something like that. I see something like that happening in 2023. So I can't explain exactly what it is. You know, I can't see everything. I see parts of things. I get feelings of things. But that was another thing that I think would be extremely significant in the year ahead. And finally, also, there's obviously many of these things are already happening, I know, because I just feel that this is the theme that I'm picking up on for the year ahead. That we have great social division already happening in America, in Europe, and the rest, particularly in politics. And I'm seeing some of those social divisions turning into out-and-out conflicts, such as Brazil, for example, possibly in America. I feel fighting on the streets, and I'm seeing some of that ahead as well, which is going to be shocking and upsetting, particularly since we see a world in chaos already, and then we see division within ourselves as well. So those are the ones I'm going to put forward at the moment as the first main predictions, but I just want to tell you a few other things as well. Firstly, to remember always that the future is always in a state of flux. No seer can fully predict what will happen in the future. Me, nor nobody. None of us can, because what we get, some of us kind of get an insight into what's likely to happen, but we don't know precisely what is going to happen. We get a feel of things, and I'll be sharing with you over the coming weeks as we lead up to the new year, my feelings of each time I tune in to see what I'm given. What I think we do is we connect with this kind of the subtle level of existence, a subtle level of reality that's there ready to unfold and flow into the world based upon the world's karma. But like I say, we can't see everything, but we get a feeling. And that's why so often many of the psychics may see some similar things, but the details may be different. I do think that this coming period, though, I think 2023 and 2024 are both going to be very challenging years still. But I think this is the last 2 years of real hard difficulty that we're going to see. Because my feeling is that after 2024 and particularly into 2025, the problems of the world will start to ease very much at that time. And I see in 2025 a kind of a new world council coming together. Now, I'm not seeing the United Nations. I'm seeing something new, and it has a feeling of something to do with the East, as if India and China and the Eastern countries are particularly powerful in this, as if perhaps it's something that comes out of the potential conflicts that may occur with Taiwan. But it's a coming together of the world, but particularly based in the East for some reason. I don't know why. It's just the feeling I get with that. And this will be a great force for good that will help finally to bring a much more peaceful period into the world. I feel also, I don't know how you guys feel about this. You might make a comment later about it, but I feel at the moment that the whole world is in some ways being tested, both collectively as a world, you know, with everything out there, but also all of us as individuals in some ways. I don't know in my life, but other people's lives around me, everybody seems to be going through lots of different types of personal hardship, spiritual things and difficult things in their life. And I think that this is something that is working its way through the world at the moment, perhaps, hopefully, which I feel will happen eventually, for better times ahead. And I'm feeling that 2025 may be the beginning of much, much better times for us all. I feel more and more, you know, I've mentioned before that I think there will be a golden age eventually. We're not going straight into that, but I do feel that in 2025, we start to see the final clouds move away, and I'm heading towards a much more stable and better time. Now, with all these troubles around, I thought one of the things I might try new this time was to ask, you know, I use the I Ching, the old Chinese oracle, to do some of my readings when I do the audio readings. Those of you who had readings with me will know I often will reference the I Ching. The I Ching ancient oracle becomes almost like a person. It becomes a bit like what I would call a tulpa. As you work with it over your lifetime, it generates a sort of an energy that can almost be like a person. That kind of speaks to you. Now, perhaps I'm getting a bit crazy here, it might sound, but, you know, I really do believe that we get an energy that kind of works with us in life and eventually becomes almost a living presence that can come from working with a very close oracle like this. I mean, some of you might have found it, those of you out there that work with astrology or work with tarot, you know, you find a certain energy it seems to generate. So I asked the I Ching, is there an antidote? Is there something we can do? What is the path forward on a worldly way to counter these things? Now, any person that a dozen other people could cast the I Ching and have a completely different answer. But the I Ching tries to bring us back to what they call the Tao, the way, the center, the equilibrium, the point of inexpressible oneness with the universe. And so the hexagram I got when you cast the I Ching, as you call it, was called the Family, which was not a heavy hexagram. It's a very nice hexagram, as it were, though every hexagram has equal value. And it had the moving line in the first place, which means closeness within the family, and regret will disappear. And it set me thinking about how could we as individuals counter the world. And I felt that this kind of indicated to me another thing that I feel is going to happen in the world is that there will gradually become a return to human values based upon the family. If you think about harmony in society, if we can find harmony in the family, we can find harmony in the world around us. If we can feel harmony in the world around us, we can extend that to the whole of mankind. But it has to begin somewhere close. It begins mainly with the family. But not all families are happy places. And I see family, the lineage of the family, being the kind of the links of love between people. If you think about it, some people can be in a family, but it's not genetic I'm talking about here. I'm talking about spiritually how we connect to one another. And that each of us has these lineages that become kind of our family, become kind of our spiritual connection, which is which is expressed in the genetic form of the family, but is in life all those connections with the people we love here and in the next world and in the world previous that we may have been before we came here and had life on earth. So that love of family link can even extend, for example, into siblings that may not be genetically related, or can connect into people that have been adopted into our families, or even our pets and animals. We get this connection of spiritual energy that I call the family. So the Qing tells us that we must focus on those family values. And I think that would be a very good thing for the future. And in fact, I think in 2023, we're going to see a gradual turning away from these overtly political correctness agendas, and also a decline in the media's focus on promoting woke and LGBT ideas. Now, all those ideas have been very helpful to the world, I think, on many levels, but I think in some respects have neglected sometimes the family concept. And similarly, I think the Qing is perhaps saying there that we should value the mother as well within a family. And I was really interested today when I went on Twitter for the first time in a long time to see Elon Musk saying something to the effect of tweeted something to the effect of mothers should not be undervalued. And there's a man at the top of industry saying that, whether you like him or not. I think it's a good comment. And I think this is something that we will see the world moving towards, a greater understanding and a return, I think, to the family. I think there's a yearning for that in people, and family values perhaps presented a little bit more in the media. Now, despite the moves we've seen to make a more inclusive society, I do think in the world at large, there's likely to be, I feel, in 2023, a sort of a backlash against us and them. With lots of different groups. So it's us and them immigrants, or us and them religion that's different to ours, or us and them who has a lifestyle different to ours. I think there will be a lot of political movements and troubles in the world of clashes between people, a bit like when we had back in my day with the mods and rockers. You know, it was us and them type of thing people developed. You know, I see that happening much more around the world, sadly. And the worldwide food shortages, like I said, and escalating unemployment, house repossessions, certainly here in the UK, but I feel the same thing around so many of the places in the Western world, in Canada, in Australia, in Europe. I feel the same sort of problems will create a form of civil unrest, with more and more strikes, and the whole Western world really grinding to a halt as the political problems increase. So these are not good situations, I feel, because I feel we will even see sort of mobs on the streets, and we will see people taken out as scapegoats, and we will see mass protests and looting going on. So I feel a very unpleasant period ahead, unfortunately, generally, with these things. We had the shock of the pandemic, and it took us all by surprise, really, although I had made predictions about that. But it still took everybody surprise, no matter what, because the things like this could happen so suddenly and so quickly. So I do think it's important that we kind of prepare ourselves in some ways, and know that that there's difficult times ahead, and don't take everything so for granted, such as our democracy and things, and think that life can work so easily. But I do think that we do have to perhaps think also about coming back to the simple things in life, coming back to the idea that basic things, simple things, the people we love are important. We can't make big changes to the worlds like the Musks of this world again, or the Trumps, or people with the huge money. We can't make big personal changes much. It's partly through politics we can, but we can make big differences in the people we connect with at home, close to us. And I think that is the way that we eventually build a much happier society. We can build a golden age around each of us. Each of us can create a garden of light around ourselves. And we're not hiding from anything doing that. We're just connecting it, because it connects, and we can connect and connect. One candle can light a million candles. And I think this is the way forward. And I feel what the Ching was giving us there about coming back to the simple things. Now, so that's me talking. Okay. I've got lots of other predictions, loads of them that I want to do, but I'm going to feed them to you a few at a time, because it's too many to throw everything to everybody all at once. And then at the end of the year, I'm going to make a one video that will be much more just all the pointers of the main predictions I'm making for the year ahead, sort of blow by blow. So thanks for joining me today. And now what I would really appreciate from you guys who are all coming in live here, thank you, is a few questions. Not that I'm going to answer them, but I just want I want everybody to put in the comments afterwards. If you can come back and put your questions in the comments afterwards, I will try to answer as many of your questions as I'm capable of. Remember, I can't, like I said at the beginning, I can't see everything. I just get a feel, but it might be interesting just to get your input of thoughts that you might have. So I'm going to put a few of them up on the screen as you ask them now. And we'll talk about some of those as well later on. This is one that I definitely have already got my predictions ready for. I'm not going to share it right with you now, but I have a lot of thoughts about China, because I think China is one of those places that's going to be absolutely critical to the world, not just now, but in the longer term future. And the midterms, I've kind of talked about in my earlier predictions. I know I wanted to wait before I do my predictions about America until after the midterms. I still hold with what I said at the beginning, that I feel the Republicans are going to sweep the board there. South Africa, I'll see what I can say about South Africa. In a way, you do have to have a little bit of a knowledge of these things as well as the insight, because I might be sort of about things I just don't know. I don't know much about South Africa, but perhaps that's better. I'll see what I can do with South Africa. And also, I know a lot of you, 2024 with Trump, I have addressed some of that. I will be putting some of those thoughts in as well. So yeah, I'm getting lots of, as a vision of the horse, and what is the meaning? Symbolic, I think. Rishi Sunak, I'm also going to cover as well. Thank you. These are all interesting ideas, because again, if you're following the channel, put your thoughts, put your thoughts in the comments below, and I will try hard to cover as many as I possibly can. I see we've got quite a lot of, we're doing it English Times at the moment. I see quite some interesting changes in the Tory party, actually. Surprising things I'm seeing for that. Well, I can't. Well, we'll see what happens. It's always just interesting to see what you guys have to say. Yes, there will definitely be better times ahead. Don't you worry. This is our path through. This is our path through. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Nepal's going to be an important one too. Thank you. That's an important one that I do want to address that, actually. And royal family, I'll do a whole special one for you, Anne, on the royal family, and any particular thoughts you've got about the royal family, do put them in the comments afterwards, if you will. It helps. It's almost like it helps me to seed it, you see, because I sort of get myself in tune in, and then I'll look through the comments, and it's like my guides will sort of pop things into my head and tell me things, but I almost as if sometimes someone says something and it triggers something in me. Yeah, well, I'm going to go into depths in China and the East too, because the East and the West, we are all intertwined nowadays. British Columbia and Canada. I know a lot of of you want me to talk about Trudeau as well. Some interest. So these are kind of thoughts, aren't they? Lots of interesting thoughts coming in. I'm trying to flick on them. You're asking so quick. I might put something offensive up in a minute. Just thoughts you're giving. So that's why. That's more of an opinion, but I will be definitely be doing things like that. And like you say, Lady Penelope, debt in the UK. Yeah, Parker must obey, mustn't he? And Ukrainian situation and what will happen with Russia, and also the longer term Russia power cuts. Definitely, without a doubt, there's going to be power cuts. I know that not as a psychic, but for a fact, because my grandson has sugar diabetes, type 1 diabetes. He has to have electrical equipment for some of that, and the electricity board advised us to get power chargers for him. So it might be an idea to get yourself some rechargeable bits and pieces from, so you can charge your phones up and everything like that. Yes, this is that's an interesting one, actually. It's something I talked about in much earlier predictions. And I felt she would take a religious type of role one day as well, but we could perhaps look into that. The cryptocurrencies, I saw someone talking about there. This would be interesting. I know a number of my clients have got investments in cryptocurrencies and often ask for guidance on that type of thing. I'll give you a few thoughts about that, and also how the pound and the dollar are going to go as well. And I like the idea of some of the you see, there's so many. This is why I cannot do it all in one video today, but this is why I'm giving you your chance today to particularly seed ideas. We've got some Chinese one. What says, Master, you make a mistake. You said Xi Jinping would step down, because he's going to go, but not quite yet. He's on his way out. I tell you, I'm going to tell you about all that later. He's on his way. Can you get a jet? No, I don't need that much, but you do certainly need it for certain, chargeable things like that. And yeah, okay, we'll go for that one as well. So again, quite interesting thoughts. Those of you who are just joining us or come to us after we've gone live, don't forget to put your questions in the comments below, because here we go. There's so many interesting thoughts we have about where we're going to go. And of course, people join at different times of day, and you'd have different see, we got California coming in straight away. See, so I'm doing this based on UK time. So the more of you will sort of come in, the more questions I'm sure you're going to have. So that's just a few of them today. And so don't forget, if you follow me, you're going to get updates. I'm going to put these predictions up, quite a few of them, and go live like this, and we'll start debating them and talking about the things as well. But so if you can guys, when you've when you're finished, can you just wait till the video's ready, come back and put all your questions, sometimes again if you can, and any new ones, into the comments below. I'm sure there'll be thousands of them there, but it'll give me an opportunity to be my list. But I can't promise to answer them all, and I can only answer what I get as well, particularly on the big questions like these ones, and some of the things I've seen for the future. I had a strange image actually in my mind, was another one that I just oh, we've lost. I was just about to say something in it and the camera went, and it will go again, I predict, because I often get a little problem with the camera. So I think I need to say bye to you guys. I think Destiny is saying it's time to go, Craig. So thanks for joining me, and like I say, follow the channel, and if you're interested in what I do, please do support my work by maybe buying one of my books, getting a reading on the website. Maybe you can also get Nadi readings if you really want to know some really fascinating stuff about the future. That's now on my website at psychics.co.uk. And I'll be back again very soon with some more insights for you and some more coffees with Craig. So thanks very much for joining me. See you again soon. Bye for now. So would you like to know more? Come and see my website at psychics.co.uk, where you can buy my books. You can also read lots of free articles, and you can join our Patreon community if you like there. You can also book readings with myself and Jane. I do readings by Zoom and by email. Jane does them one-to-one at home. So have a look on the website, you'll find all that. And you'll also find our team of readers who do international work. So you can book a psychic, a medium, an astrologer there, and they're available now for phone readings 24/7. So visit our website, psychics.co.uk. You'll find a link in the description below.